And in this next fight, you got Sodiq Yusuff taking on Don Shainis, and it doesn't happen often. It's a little bit of a rarity, but I'm picking Sodiq Yusuff to win by KO. It doesn't happen often. It hasn't happened for quite a while. The last time he KO'd someone was about 3 years ago, and that was Gabriel Benitez, who I picked Charles Oliveira to beat because Benitez is chinny. And that's literally it. So, yeah, Yusuff hasn't got the most KO power in the world. He doesn't really look for KOs, but I think if he's going to get one, it's going to have to be over Don Shainis here. Don Shainis, though, he's going to come out in this fight, and he's going to look to knock Sodiq Yusuff out in the first round. He's going to come out, he's going to try and close the distance because he is the much smaller fighter. He's actually quite small for 145 in general, but he is smaller than Yusuff here, and he's just going to throw bombs. He's going to throw 110% for the first round, and he's going to try and knock out Yusuff, and I think Yusuff is just going to catch him coming in and get a KO that way. You know, I think, yeah, Sean has, I don't know, the way that this guy fights is actually very entertaining. He looks for the first round KO. He's actually getting it over this guy that was 9-7, former UFC fighter Cody Pfister, but Pfister looked terrible in that matchup. The GOAT, Jay Ellis, was 16-104 at the time. I think Jay Ellis might have been coming off a win in that matchup here, because Jay Ellis recently beat a guy that was 14-3, which is just absolute madness. Don't ask me why I keep tabs on Jay Ellis' career, but I do. It's actually quite interesting, to be honest. He fights a lot of up-and-coming fighters. Like, you never know, this guy Scott Gibbons could potentially make it into the UFC. Don Shainis did off beating him. And there's 14-4 Rodrigo Almeida. He's 15-100, and then he submitted him very early on to the fight. What a legend. He's also beaten Gerald Meerschaert as well. He's also fought so many UFC fighters. Conor Matthews fought on Dana White's Contender Series recently. Let's have a look. If we keep going back, we're gonna see some big names here. I'm telling you guys, you gotta trust me. It's taking a lot longer than I thought. But Zach Otto, I think he ended up in the UFC at one point. Dan Murray, I think he's ended up in a big stage somewhere. Colby Covington 4-0 for the 13-56. There you go. That's a big name. Like Jay Ellis is fighting big guys. Dan Murray. What did Dan Murray go on to do? I think he's in Bellator right now. He is. See guys. If someone's gonna make it in the UFC, they have to get through Jay Ellis first, and that is why it's low key worth keeping an eye on his profile, because he does. He may lose a lot, but he's losing to guys that are probably gonna end up being in the UFC at some point, which is absolutely incredible. Pat Casey, I recognise that name, but it might be a different Pat Casey. I don't know why I recognise that name. Did he fight? He fought on CES, which is probably why I know him. But yeah. I think I just made that whole part about the GOAT. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Sodiq Yusuff, I think he's going to catch John Shainis on the way in. John Shainis is going to try and close the distance, get a first round KO. Don't think it's going to happen. I think Yusuff catches him and puts him out. I don't think he puts him out badly. It's Sodiq Yusuff, but I think he's going to get a knockout, or at least a finish in this matchup here. And I think it's going to happen in the first or second round.